years I've worked as a psychologist, clinical psychologist, and I get referrals, patient after patient after patient, with some kind of label, some kind of mental health condition or disorder, or what we commonly call a mental illness. The problem is the mental illnesses that I see are not necessarily illnesses, but a combination of stressful life events, of trauma and attachment issues that people can't deal with or don't know how to deal with. The thing is, we're pathologizing everything and we're giving medication for every single symptom, every single behavior, every single problem that someone has. And I don't believe that this is the answer. So over my years of working in this field, I've learned that this is anecdotal, in my own opinion, that about 95% of the patients that I see don't have a mental illness at all. They have behaviors. They have a lack of support systems, inability to cope with the stresses in their life, a lack of resources, not enough money, not enough time, too much stress. And this has a way of impacting the body, not just at a psychological level, but at a physical level, where we now see the emergence and the increase of various chronic illnesses, autoimmune conditions, and a prevalence of neurological illnesses in children, which I will talk about epigenetics soon in a later video. But what I'm seeing is not necessarily mental illness, because when the people start to realize that they're not mentally ill, and that they have power and they have control and they have the ability to mediate these conditions in their life and their response to them, then they become empowered. The complete opposite to what our current health system or mental health system does. The complete opposite to what our pharmaceutical industry does, which is keep people ill, keep people believing that there's something pathological and wrong with them. They need a medicine for that condition, and we call it an illness. We call it a disease, even worse. So a disease to me is, a pathogen, a virus, a contagion, something that we contract, something that happens in our bodies and disturbs the neurochemistry. And we do commonly have this idea that there's a disruption to neurochemicals, neurotransmitters in the brain with mental illness. Not enough serotonin might mean depression. Too much dopamine might mean psychosis, and so on. When I sit down with patients and I get a history and I talk about what they're currently presenting for, it's usually to do with life stresses, biopsychosocial symptoms, things that are happening externally in their world that they just feel unequipped to deal with. Relationship problems, domestic violence, addiction problems, eating behaviors, drinking behaviors, substance abuse, problems from their childhood, problems at work. But our bodies are designed to heal themselves. If you think of a physical injury, immediately when you cut yourself or injure yourself, your body is at work producing coagulants to stop you from bleeding, producing anti-inflammatories, immune system responses, healing. The second we are hurt, our body, we don't have to think about this, our body goes to work. And so it is with psychological injuries too. Our body is trying to work and heal itself. But we are, in a way, picking at the wound. Metaphorically speaking, we are picking at that psychological wound and wondering why it's becoming infected and not healing. And then we go to medical professionals, we go to psychiatrists, we get prescription medication, we get advice from one person, advice from another, a diagnosis from one person, a different diagnosis from someone else, all the while retelling our story, our trauma story, and wondering why we're not feeling any better. Talk therapy is overrated in many ways. When we're talking, we are activating the higher part of our brain, our cortical area, our language centers, and the temporal lobes of our brain. This is a very different part of the brain to where emotional processing and emotional memories and trauma is stored, which is more in the limbic brain, deep in the brain. And the thing is, in that limbic region, it doesn't have access to language, doesn't know language. And that's why some people who have a trauma history, for instance, a returned vet, if a helicopter goes over, they're immediately back in the war zone, acting as if they are physically there, even though at an intellectual level, they know it was 30 or more years ago. It was in a different country, it was in a different time, it was in a different place. Intellectually, they know they're safe, but emotionally, their body reacts as if they are right back there. And that's because the limbic part of the brain, it doesn't have spatial skills. It can't determine geography or time, and it doesn't know language. So if we are going to heal trauma and attachment, which is the root cause of pretty much all mental illness that I see, then we need a different approach. So I use a combination of approaches, things that are based in quite ancient traditions and techniques, the healing secrets of the ancients, and energy medicine, and modern biology and psychology, and I put this all together into one therapeutic process to get maximum results. And I try to empower my clients rather than disempower them, which is what the current system does. Before we begin, we need to know what's holding us back. Most of us have some sort of shackle around our ankles, which is why we can't get through it. Either we don't have the right people in our lives helping us, or we're relying on the wrong kind of processes to get us through. So if you're interested in learning how I treat people with these chronic conditions and how I help people get unstuck from these things that are holding them back, then you'll get all of this information in my Life Detox course. And I would love to have you on the launch pad with me. Over at Brain and Beyond, I put little interesting facts and things as well, but I'm really looking forward to being able to help a lot more people with what is really a free resource. It's just that you perhaps don't know how to tap into it yet, or you've been listening to the narrative of our health systems, our pharmaceutical industries, and you're stuck. So I want to help you get unstuck. Anyway, that's it for now. Wherever you are, take care of yourselves and each other, and have a very happy and peaceful day. Talk soon.